myhappydesires.com. Visit us at myhappydesires.com and add some toys to your toy box. Let your imagination be the guide to your stress relief. myhappydesires.com has everything for the perfect play night. Alone or not, you choose. Fuel your desires without breaking the bank. myhappydesires.com.
It is Aftershocks right here on AftershocksTV.com. And joining us today is a legend, as you can see and well know. He is he's been rocking our worlds, I guess, for almost 40 years at this point, or probably longer than 40 years. And he's heavier than ever, which, and I don't mean that in the way like I am. I mean it in the way like
I was standing up. Wait a second.
Lighter in weight, heavier in music. He is the legend himself. He is Dee Snider. Dee, how are you, man?
You know what? I'm really doing great. It's so awesome to finally be getting feedback from the record. You know, I've been explaining to people that, you know, when you start an album or any kind of creative project, it starts from inspiration, and you think you got a good idea and you're feeling really good about it. And then you get together with the guys, you start working, and wow, yeah, this is really great. And you just, man, this is killing, you know? And then somewhere, it's just human nature, the exclamation points turn to question marks. Is this great? Is it killing? You know, like you start to doubt it, no matter how confident, I'm a cocky guy, you know, but you can't, you're working in a bubble and you're not getting feedback. So finally to be seeing reviews of the record, having singles come out and people responding on social media, getting feedback, it's been great. So it's been a really awesome time to finally have the product out and people liking it.
Sure. Now, as somebody that's been at this a hell of a long time, though, do you really wonder if you've done something good? I mean, I think by now you know the good from the bad, don't you?
Well, you know, you always say I never present something that I personally don't think is great. So, but you can blow smoke up your own ass, so to speak. You know, I mean, it can be like you know, case in point. And I knew full well what I was doing. I did an album called Dee Does Broadway, and I wanted to do Broadway show tunes, rocked out, and I wanted to do duets with like icons of Broadway. My manager said, "Who's going to buy this?" I said, "Probably nobody." But I was doing it mainly for myself. You got to like it first, and it never was really made much noise. I didn't expect it to. It was like a personal project. But you know, other times you're thinking, you know, like, okay, this is conversation, man. This is why we're here, right?
Right.
So this is why we're here. I've thought that I mentally said 2019, I'm done. Didn't make a big announcement. Too much flag waving for we're retiring, you know.
Right.
You know, but I told my family, I told my band, I told my management, you know, I do other things and creatively. And I said, I think I'm going to go out on a high note. For the love of metal was a great statement. Good night. Drop the mic. But somewhere in the middle of COVID, the world shit in the beds, as I like to say. I just started to feel, and I had this feel like I had something to say. And all of a sudden, one day I said, "Man, I got to rock again." And then I laughed because if ever there was a Dee Snider song title, that was it right there, right. You know. But then I wrote it down and I looked at it. I said, everybody must be feeling this now. Everybody, we've been pent up, we've been locked up, we've been shut down. Who thought rock would be stopped? I said, I can't be the only person that has this feeling right now. And that started the idea. But I thought as I'm creating, I'm going, this is something people are feeling, and I need to say it for those who cannot.
Okay. So then really, you really thought that, is that why For the Love of Metal was so heavy? Was you were just kind of going out on a, you know, middle fingers in the air, blazing as hard as you could at that point?
No, no, that wasn't the case at all. As a matter of fact, when Twisted retired, I thought I was done.
Okay.
And then I did, you know, I went and I did Rock of Ages on Broadway. And I had this inspiration to do this record, you know, this show tunes record. And I did it. And I said, okay, you know, I'm done. And then somebody said, well, you know, I think you could do a really great mainstream rock record. And basically, the words, don't say I challenge you to me. It's like, oh, I can't. What did you say? Challenge me. I'm an idiot for the words. I'm challenge you. So I'm like, all right, let's try it. So went in there and did it. And I'm proud of it, but it didn't resonate. It didn't connect. I went, all right, I'm done. Cut to 17? When I'm on the Jasta podcast, and Jasta says, I challenge you. I'm like, oh, no. Yes, I accept. He goes, I didn't finish. I know I'm an idiot. I just accept any challenge. I dare you. So I said, he said, I challenge you to do a true metal record. I said, Jamey, I would love to. I love metal in all its forms. I've stayed connected to it from the beginning. I'm still connected to what's going on. I just don't know where I fit. I stopped recording. I stopped writing in 95 with Widowmaker because I didn't think I had a place anymore. He goes, I know where you fit in. I said, well, let's do it. And so that was really an experiment for me, really, you know, and I'm looking at the lead singer of Hatebreed, who never sang a melody, well, up to my knowledge at that time, in his life, you know, and I'm going, what is going I'm accepting this dare, but what is he going to do? Turn me into, you know, Hatebreed 2? Right. And, but that's not Jasta's thing. He respects metal in all its forms. He respected what I did and just felt that it had a place in what was going on in it. As he said, we're losing so many great voices. We need yours. And I said, yeah. And now he said, I saw you live. He says, you're as powerful as ever. He said, that's what really motivated me. He says, listen to this guy just roaring on that stage. While many of my peers are not sounding so good these days, as we have seen on YouTube videos, sadly. So anyway, but that really, so I gave the trust fall. The community turned out. Mark Morton and Ollie from All That Remains, rest in peace, and you know, and Howard Jones and Joel Grind and Alyssa White. I mean, it was crazy. This outpouring of people I didn't think would care. Right. And then we made this record, and it went to the top of the Billboard charts, #1 on the metal charts. It was like, and I just said, wow, I've hit this amazing high note. Mic drop, right, and leave, you know. But then shit happened, and you know, and I suddenly felt I needed to speak out, and I never used the same producer twice. And before Jamey Jasta, didn't even think twice about that. I knew the minute I said I want to do another record, hey Jamey, right, you know, I want to do a record, and we got the band back together, so to speak, and we went for it.
Sure. Explain this part to me, Dee, just because the bio and stuff is a little unclear. You know, your career has been Dee Snider leading whatever it was, whether it was Twisted or Widowmaker or Desperado or anything you've done. Has
House of Hair, Strangeland, yeah, Dee Snider this, Dee Snider that, right. You know.
But these two records really are presented as almost a collaborative thing in some way between yourself and Jamey. Is that A, the way it is? And B, if it is, how long did it take you to get comfortable kind of letting somebody else maybe push the rudder a little bit sometimes?
Well, there's a couple of things in there. One, you know, so when I accepted Jamey's challenge, I said to myself, well, if you're going to accept the challenge, you're going to have to do a trust fall here. You know what I mean? I mean, the thing was, he said, I can help you find that place. We got to let the guy do his thing. And just as an aside, after the success of For the Love of Metal, I said, dude, you should do this for more people. And he goes, Dee, I've tried. He goes, most people in your position can't control their own egos enough to allow me to help them. They start sort of, oh, well, I do it this way, and this is what I like to do, and this is the way we do it when I was doing. And he said, and all of a sudden they're fighting me trying to bring them somewhere, and it's just turning into another one of their own records. So he says, you're the first person that's ever just said, okay, I'm gonna roll with this. And now, yes, I did, but the rolling only went as far as going into the studio for the first couple of songs. And when I heard them, when I heard American Made, when I heard Running Mazes, and I was like, oh damn, I get this. And I was reading the words. Jamey said he read every word I ever wrote before trying to write a word for me. The other day he asked me about some obscure track. I go, how do you even know that track? He goes, I told you, I listened to everything you did. He didn't want to assume to write for Dee Snider. And when I read the words, I go, well, shit, this could be me right here. This, become the storm. Yeah, this is me. So we went in, and once I started recording the first couple of songs, and I remember the first song was American Made, and I went in there, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, and I was like, that was basically me just going, this works. And I didn't know that in the control room, Jamey and Nikki and Charlie Belmore were like, oh shit, it works. It was like the Frankenstein moment. It's alive. It's alive. And then at that point, like, I was like, okay, he's not turning me into Hatebreed. He wants it. It's just it's Dee Snider, Mach 7 or whatever designation you want to give. And at that point, I really let him roll with it. Not every song. There was a couple songs I didn't like, and we didn't do those. And then that led us to this album. And then now, having been in this skin and seeing where I fit and understanding how it works, I said, Jamey, I want to be a part of this process now. And Jamey said, welcome. And I'd written songs. In Twisted, I wrote everything, but in Widowmaker, Desperado, I co-wrote with people. So I was used to working with other writers. So I was comfortable with that already from that experience. So Charlie Belmore, me, and Jamey did all the songwriting.
Okay, very cool. Now, Dee, you're one of the things that you're doing with each record is you are challenging yourself to do heavier and heavier music. And I'll point to Time to Choose, which I'm sure is the one everybody's pointing to because, of course, with Corpse Grinder on the song, but take him out of the song. It's still a great song, but it's arguably the heaviest song you've ever put your voice to. Yeah,
that and The Reckoning, I think, is another one. Yeah, some snarky reviewer said, and he gave it a good review of the album, but he was like, you obviously see the Jamey Jasta, influence, whose idea was it to bring Corpse Grinder in, parentheses, Jamey Jasta. Right. And I said, no, I'm screaming at this. I'm screaming at the review. No, idiot. That was my idea. And Jasta was stunned. Jasta thought, when I said George Fisher, he said, you talking about some guy from the 80s or something? I said, no, Corpse Grinder. Like, he couldn't imagine that these, and he calls me OGD. He goes, OGD. You're always making it heavier. And that's the truth. I'm the one who's always pushing to get harder and heavier. Jamey is the one holding me back and going, dude, you got to bridge. You got to be the bridge. You got to keep that one foot in where you're from and who you are. We don't want to lose that Dee Snider voice. Don't want you to start singing like Corpse Grinder. And he says, and the other foot is in the now. He says, and I'm the more gang vocals, more hardcore chants, more punches in the face. And I'm the one that's doing OGD. But yeah, so that was my idea.
It's so cool. I'm curious now for you, especially now you have 20 whatever songs that are in a much heavier direction. How do you look at your past music? Do you still like listening to your past music, or do you listen to something like Hot Love and you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? I should have been doing this, or are you able to compartmentalize it into that was that place in time, this is this place in time?
The latter, 100%. First of all, I love all metal. And I'm really the OG guy. I mean, I had the first Sabbath album when it came out, first Zepp album came out, first Grand Funk, first Blue Cheer. When they came out, I'm old. Yes, I'm 66, the most metal of ages. So So, but you know, and it was hard rock then, and I was one of the champions of hard rock that became heavy metal, and you know, so I'm still engaged, and I love the community, and I love the bloodline, and we're all part of it. So I love it all. When I joined Twisted Sister, they were a New York Dolls glitter band. They wanted to be like the New York Dolls, Alice Cooper, David Bowie, T-Rex. That's what they were doing. And I loved that stuff. I thought that rocked. Alice Cooper, early Alice Cooper rocked. Sure. It was hard rock. And I joined a glitter band. I embraced what they were about, but I also brought my love of metal and to bear. And as a songwriter, I tried to combine both of them. So We're Not Gonna Take It is Slade inspired, but listen to Burn in Hell and listen to Under the Blade and You Can't Stop Rock and Roll and Fire Still Burns. And you can see the metal in me. And those are songs I wrote as well. So, you know, I mean, hell, when we first started touring, we toured with Saxon and Metallica and fucking Maiden and Motorhead. Okay. So we were, you know, and back then nobody blinked. Yeah. There was none of that stigma. We were just a weird metal band, you know, and there was no separation. You saw Motley touring with Ozzy, and, you know, you saw all these bands, you know, and we toured with Maiden. Nobody said, what's that band doing here? That came later in the 80s when everybody started drawing lines and saying, that's not metal. This is metal, false metal, true metal, death metal, hard, pop metal, hair metal. You know, I love it all. So I look back on stuff they did. I'm proud of everything I did. But in my heart of hearts, I'm an angry, aggressive motherfucker. I'm blessed. I'm lucky. But at the same time, I love aggression and intensity. And I've stayed in connected through my children, who are all metalheads. Good God, they are so, especially my daughter. Her name's Shy. It's the wrong name for her. She is so brutal. Jamey saw her playlist on my phone because she always gives me Dad's hardcore playlist, and he was like, "Holy!" He would look at these. Dee, she is like, she's scaring me with how heavy she's, dark and metallic she is. And both albums, everything was run past Shy. Shy was the sounding board. Jamey would go, play it for Shy. What does Shy think? And I remember you'll love this story, man. The people will love this story too. So the first album, and I'm still. Like I said, I go to concerts with her. She's playing music, give me this list, but I'm still learning and some things. So I came back one day and he said, what did Shy say? I said, she said it needs a dirty breakdown and she wants to hear the ting. And I didn't know what he goes, guys, we need a dirty breakdown. We got to hear the ting. Everybody's scrambling. And I'm going, what is that? And like, now I know what it is, you know. That's when the pit opens up, you know. So now I know, but Shy was like, so Jamey's always, what does Shy say? And then when Shy said, tell Jamey, I think this record's better than the last one, he was like, holy shit. Shy approved. Shy approved.
Well, she's not wrong. That's for sure. She's definitely not wrong. It's a great record.
Yeah, looking at your wall back there, and that's pretty much, you know. Yeah. I mean, well, it's on the lighter side, some of that stuff for her. She's so heavy. She's so brutal. It's great. I love her. I love her.
Nice. Well, I'm just gonna make an assessment, and you tell me that I'm wrong if I'm wrong here. I loved Widowmaker. Like, to me, that's the very best stuff you ever did, and especially the second record. You know, Stand By for Pain. I loved.
Thank you. And I'm going to cut you off. Thank you. But that really shows my true colors, so to speak. We were getting heavier and heavier. I was getting heavier and heavier before that got shut down. That was a very heavy record.
It is. And that's why that kind of leads to my question. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, you hadn't run into Jamey, you know, for whatever reason, your paths didn't cross, or for whatever reason, you didn't think that you would ever cross with the Hatebreed guy or whatever. Do you think if you would have just followed that progression, you would have found your way to what you're doing now, just because in your heart of hearts, you were always trying to take it to a heavier level?
Yeah. And again, I say, you know, with Twisted Sister, I joined an existing band that had an existing, what's the word, mission. You know what I mean? And I was brought in not to make them something they weren't, but to make them a better version of what they were. You know what I mean? So, and I love what I did, but left to my own devices, you could see how I get heavy and heavier because that's my true nature. And look, the guitar player in Widowmaker is Al Petrelli, who went on to play with Megadeth. I mean, you know, a great metal guitar player. So yeah, you know, that was the end of my writing. And this, I don't pay attention to reviews, especially negative ones, but when they say something that you were starting to think yourself, that's when it resonates. And I did the second, you know, I really was happy with Stand By for Pain and the heaviness of it and where we were going. And the reviews came back, and I saw some comments. You know, one thing was Dee Snider's trying to fit in with the contemporary scene, you know, and it was being interpreted as I wasn't being true. It was too close to the 80s for people to accept me being something different than they knew me for. And then someone else said, you know, young people want their own bands, not their brothers or their uncles. Right. And I kind of got, and I kind of got that. And I said, well, and I used to complain about bands that didn't know when to get off the stage. I hated the fact that Genesis turned into 4 bands made me insane. I mean, so there's Genesis, then we get Mike and the Mechanics, Genesis, Phil Collins, and what was the other? Oh, and Peter Gabriel. Yeah. Like, oh, gee, there wasn't enough time being eaten up by this shitty band. We got to have 4 of them. So I'm not a fan. So I said, you know what? I get it. Time for me to go do other things. And I went into radio and television and movies and voiceover and a lot of different things. But as the years went by, and it was Jamey, thank God I met him, because I would not, you know, I would not have returned. And Jamey said, there's a place for you. And I said, I love hearing that. Where? Because I don't see how I fit in. And Jamey said, let me show you. And I owe him forever. You know, I talk to him all the time, and I'm glad that he's getting respect and appreciation too. Guy is so talented, and people tend to just compartmentalize all of us. Oh, you're the hair metal guy. Right. Oh, you're the hardcore guy. And you know, yeah, we are. But does that mean that's all we're capable of doing? You know, we're stuck there? I can't do anything else. And this day, no matter what I do, people are stunned when I do something else. You know, you can't go to Broadway. I went to Broadway. Oh, yeah, well, you can't write a book. Well, I just wrote my first novel, and when it comes out and you see it, then you shut your fucking mouth. And, you know, you can't direct a movie. Well, I'm going to be directing a movie. When that comes out, you'll shut up on that too. But everything, the doubt is just endless.
Well, and the saddest thing about it is metalheads will be the first ones to complain that you're not that you're making the same record over and over and over and over. And then when you do something different, they're like, well, you're selling out, man.
Selling out, or you're not being true to what you are. And that's people said, why didn't you do a new Twisted Sister record? Well, a variety of reasons. I said, if you do something new, people give you shit for not being Twisted Sister. And if you do something that sounds like you sounded, they go, yeah, well, they're doing the same old thing. Make up your mind, you know. And I knew that there was no way with Twisted Sister I could ever do something like For the Love of Metal or Leave a Scar. It's only because I separated from that by a few years that people said, all right, he's solo now, you know. And they were still shocked, but at the same time, it never would have flown with Twisted Sister all of a sudden coming out and doing For the Love of Metal. I don't believe that could have flown.
Sure. Now, Dee, touring. Yes, no, got to wait and see. You know, where you at with that?
I think, well, first of all, this year is a wash. I've got a live stream event thing going on. It's going on right now as we speak. It'll be running for a month at metaldepartment.tv. Do a lot of new stuff and some twisted stuff. And by the way, you know, when you detune Under the Blade, Can't Stop Rock and Roll, Burn in Hell, and you just add a little more in there with Charlie Belmore and Taz on guitars, it fits in beautifully. It's amazing. People go, holy crap. And there's a little, I do Ready to Fall from the second Widowmaker record. So it all actually, it's funny. People are kind of shocked. You know, they said, wow, I really connected the dots. Playing the more metallic Twisted Sister stuff in a similar tuning to what's going on today with the same band. And I see how it all connects now. So if you check that out, I'd love for you to all check that out. and I got an odd show here and there this year. But I think this year is kind of a wash again. You know, with COVID spike happening and the rules in one state different in another state, I don't want to deal with that shit. 2022, I will be back out there. But I've already started booking shows, festival shows, and stuff for 2022. I very much want to be a part of the return. Right. When we come back as a community with this behind us, or at least dealing with it, whether it's, you know, that booster shots or whatever it is. But I think the whole, you know, social distance thing will be behind us. And I want to sing "You Can't Stop Rock and Roll" to metal audiences with a whole new meaning. Because I wrote that song when I was in my 20s. I was talking about, like, you know, teachers and, you know, parents and stuff, right? Not COVID-19. Right. I didn't think there was actually something that would literally stop us in our tracks. Right. But it can't stop us forever. And we are going to return with a vengeance next year. And it's going to be so good to see everybody again, to be back as a community, as a family. You know, it's just going to be so good.
No doubt. And dude, nothing will be cooler than seeing you bring that song with the intensity that you do at a huge crowd, like a Wacken type of a festival or something. And
I know there will be people openly weeping. I guarantee it, because for me, the words just take on a whole nother meaning that I never even realized. Again, I didn't think somebody would actually pull the plug on what we do. And you know, so it's got new meaning to me. And I think that it's going to have new meaning to others when they hear those words.
No question. Well, dude, it's always great to talk to you, Dee. The new album is called Leave a Scar. It is a heavy monster. It is out. Well, by the time this hits, it'll be out, because it's out tomorrow. So it is out. I definitely encourage everybody to check it out. And Dee, where should we send people to keep up with you and get the record and all that stuff?
Well, you know, DSnider.com for all things Dee. Just remember, my last name is an adjective. It's not a proper noun. I am Snider than you are. Okay, so SNIDER. And you know, if you Google me, there's just a ridiculous amount of things that I'm involved in. But I can't stop, man. I can't stop. And I'm like a shark. I think if I stop swimming, I'll die. And also, by the way, for your older listeners, if you're looking for the fountain of youth, don't get lighter with age. Get heavier. Get harder. And work with younger people like a vampire. I suck the life and energy out of them. But I mean, that's where true inspiration comes from. With some fresh blood, fresh ideas, fresh thought. That's why things are working for me now, because I've been open to new ideas and not a closed-minded old dude. Well, in my day, we used to. Oh, fuck you, old man. Who wants to hear that shit?
Very nice. All right, Dee, one more time. The name of the album, Leave a Scar, out now. It is Dee Snider. And Dee, thanks so much for joining us here on Aftershocks.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it.